Okay, I'd like to call the September 7th, 2021 of the Community Redevelopment Agency for the City of Lake City to order. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Hill? Mr. Jefferson?
Here.
Mr. Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Witt?
Here.
Mr. Coberline?
Here.
Ms. Fields?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Yes.
Okay, next is approval of the minutes from August the 2nd, 2021.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move for the approval of the minutes from August 2nd, 2021. Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve the minutes as published. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is approval of the agenda. I don't have any modifications to it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as published. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, under public comments, citizens are encouraged to participate in the City of Lake City meetings. The City of Lake City encourages civility in public discourse, requests that speakers direct their comments to the chair. Those attendees wishing to share a document or comments in writing for inclusion into the public record must email that item to submissions@lcflorida.com no later than noon on the day of the meeting. Citizens may provide input to individual council members via office visits, phone calls, letters, and emails that will become public record. This time, Mr. Glenn L. Bowden wanted to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members of the CRA agency. Let me begin first by pointing out something that I find disturbing or offensive, and I need some clarification from the city council. I call your attention to the cover sheet on this. They got City of Lake City, which is your logo. Then you got Lake City Gateway to Florida, which still got the Confederate logo. So it gives the impression that that's an official document from the City of Lake City. I know for a fact that the city council does not use that logo anymore. We fought that battle. There was a bill of battle, and the city council voted to change it. All right, change ever got changed. So I want to know, before I even get into my discussion, is this considered an official document?
I don't know where that logo or that letterhead
Well,
came.
maybe Ms. Saxon, she put in the agenda package. Where'd it come from?
Yep, I can tell you where it came from. That document it was emailed to our office to be included in the packet, not into the packet, but into the agenda documentation for today.
Well, Mr. Mayor, and I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to everyone on city council. Do you think it's appropriate to have a document with the city logo on it? And it says here, City of Lake City CRA, and you got this logo that's been disapproved with a Confederate flag on it.
Right.
Do you think that's appropriate?
No, sir.
Because I want you to know it's a throwback. And I don't care what anybody think about it. You can say I'm using a race card, and I am. In fact, I'm using a whole deck on this. I fought this battle. I went to jail for putting up a flyer, denouncing this. And for it to be included in this document, sends the wrong message, and it sets the wrong tone. And I just want to go on record. And my view is this: if you get another document like that, it shouldn't even be put into the record. I mean, it shouldn't. It don't make no sense. It sends the wrong message, and I think I made my point on that. And I apologize for using a minute of my time on that. But I did want to speak before the presentation came, because I wanted to speak some things that's going to be talked about. And one in particular is the $120,000 that was approved by the CRA for the tree removal. If I remember correctly, and I was at the advisory committee meeting that Mr. Jefferson is the chair. If I remember correctly, that Mr. Brian Scott, after Mrs. Field was challenged on her assessment in terms of how much it's going to cost, she asked the public works person to come up and explain it. So that going from $120,000 to $200,000 was not something that Mrs. Field pulled out the air. And really, it's petty that Ms. Field didn't come up with that. The city staff said that. They said that it would cost more than $120,000 to do that work. So if anybody misled anybody, because what they're talking about, it's the staff. And the challenge should be to the staff that provided Mrs. Field with information, and not Mrs. Field that repeated. She didn't just repeat it. She had the staff person come up and stand right at this podium and say it. But it print document. Miss Field said it. Miss Field, yeah, she said it. She said that was a lot of information she got from the staff. You got people now running around like there's some outside engineer advising the city. What you can do, who you gonna take advice from? You gonna take the advice from the city staff, or you gonna take the advice from somebody outside the community, outside the city, saying they know what's best? I mean, it's getting to the point now, Mayor, that not only that I think it's taking on some racist overtone, it's interfering with the city manager form of government. It really is. And the other point I want to make, and if you let me go for another minute, Mayor.
I will, cause you did.
Yeah. The other point I want to make is this, is that there's constant reference, and I think Councilman Green brought it, there's constant reference to Thomas Henry. Well, Thomas Henry is suspended while there's an investigation going on. And these people keep talking about he got 30 years worth of service to the city. I appreciate that. But from my understanding, I don't have any factual information, that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is conducting an investigation. So from my reading, that it's a lawful investigation. So I don't think the city council, no other citizen should be interfering with that. Because if you do, it amounts to like it appears to be a cover or like somebody got something to hide. Let the investigation play out and the chips fall where they may. You know, but yes, I would admit that he got 30 years worth of service. But he don't have 30 years worth of service being a public works director. And I would say here, whether he was in the room or sitting where you're sitting right now. Thomas Henry didn't bring no serious qualifications to be the public works director. Thomas Henry went from cutting grass and picking up trash to being a public works director. Then all of a sudden people, not qualified. And I'll leave on that, I'll speak to it later. But let me just say this. I was talking about that one thing. There'll be a conversation about the signs at Saturday during Park. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was down there, Councilman Green was there, it might have been up here, and there was a conversation about the sign. And he suggested probably have a sign with a LED sign at the bottom. There was never a discussion about a billboard. I don't remember anybody in my life who was talking about a billboard. I work for outdoor advertising. You can't put nobody want a billboard. It's a red herring. The guy in his packet, a billboard. Then he got enough nerve to put it in the packet. There's gonna be some activists going to be controlling the message. Then he included a billboard with Black Lives Matter. I mean, that's red herring. So if somebody will lie in an official document, if there's a lie going in, the whole document is a lie. In that same document, mentioned that Ron Williams, he said he can speak for himself because he's of age. He mentioned that Ron Williams had a meeting with Mrs. Fields and with the Recreation Department Director for the county. Ron Williams told me what he never did. So if you start out with a lie, as far as I'm concerned, the whole document is a lie. And I'll speak later, Mr. Miller. Thank you.
Did you want to speak? Ron, you want to speak?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Councilman. I'm here with. I've been trying to keep my dog out of this box.
Right.
But when I get involved in it, and my name be brought up about I am the one that's gonna be in charge of what going, some kind of a board that I met with Ms. Field and Mario. We had a meeting, and I was gonna be the one to say what going feel is a bald-faced lie. And I wanna see the person that said that, because we'll go behind bond. It's just that simple. Now y'all done drug me into this, and I'm all in now. It's just that simple. I never met with Ms. Field, nor Mario about a damn sign.
Okay. Okay, the only other person I had that wanted to speak at this time is Mr. Holgram, I think.
No, I'm on the seat, and I'm on the seat to item 1 and 2, but I want to make a couple comments. I gave you a turn to speak to Mr. Mayor.
That's fine. If you want to go ahead before he does, that's fine. Okay. Okay.
Mayor Webb, before I speak to items 1 and 2, I want to use this time to hand out my ethics complaint against Mr. Jefferson. It's already been filed in Tallahassee. Mr. Jefferson, who is also a chairman of the CRA, which is CRAC, has allowed Lester McCullum and McCullum, who are husband and wife, to sit on the CRAC, and the city council has given the husband and wife $80,000 on a refund from the Blanche Hotel on a down payment on a loan from now known as Drummond Bank in Lake City for duplexes units in which the McCullums are founders of the nonprofit it went to. With the city giving them money, others and myself find it to be a conflict of interest with this couple sitting on this board and other boards that they could sway in the city's favor because of this contribution in which this couple did by voting to have the CDBG grant not go toward renovating seniors' homes throughout the city, but instead voted for the grant to be used for the city's interest for a boardwalk and a fountain to go in the DeSoto Lake. You will find a letter from 2018 CRAC meeting in which the couple are board members of promising to give $200,000 to the McCullums, not to mention the McCullums and Jeffersons are friends. The CRA has given nobody else but Mr. Jefferson friends the McCullums money in the yellow portion of the CRA district. Also, Jefferson, who is the chairman, has allowed Tina Roberts and the Wilson Parks project to use up most of the money funds allocated to it while deliberately rejecting the Black community of the CRA district, which is colored yellow, to have any funds allocated to it in reasonable proportion. I find it problematic that others and myself had to protest Sally Mae Jerry Park to get the city council and the CRA chairman to renovate the park in the Black community in which which is in the CRA district, and the city owned that particular property. Mr. Jefferson, in August at the CRA meeting, when I addressed him about the yellow portion of the CRA, he denied that that portion existed. I then showed him the map, and he still said he has to check to see whether or not it's true. Chairman Jefferson, in the most unethical manner, is giving money out of the CRA funds to his cronies and associates, and he's neglecting his fiduciary obligation to make sure all portions of the CRA district receive funding in a fair and equal manner. A copy of recordings from the CRA and the CRAC meetings in August, a copy of the CRA map, a forensic accounting done on the CRA accounts and records, interviewing a financial director of the city and the city clerk will sustain these allegations. As again, I've already reported with my attorney, we've tracked these. These have already made it to the Florida Commission of Ethics, and I gave everybody a copy, and I guess official copy will go in the records. Thank you.
Mr. Holgram, did you want to speak at this time?
Here, members of the council, I am the one that put the logo on the front of the document. I pulled that off of Google Images. I didn't have city letterhead. And so I'll apologize to Mr. Bowden for his perception of a slide. It wasn't intended. I was just trying to create something that was attractive. I've given out a handout, and if you'll turn to the fourth from the last page, I'll try to be brief. It has a picture of, it's Nellie Jackson Park, and then underneath it, I've got a picture of a scrolling sign. And this is what I was of the impression that we were going to do originally, but in recent conversations, and I will dispute what Mr. Williams said, Mr. Williams does meet with Amy every Monday morning, along with the county manager. And I believe that some of these things have been discussed in those meetings, but again, I'm not involved in those private discussions, so I can't quote directly. But what I am concerned about is a large billboard being erected that's larger than, say, 12 inches by 4 feet wide, which has a scrolling message that says something to the effect of city manager, or city council meeting tonight, or CRA meeting tonight. I'm concerned about what I showed on the second page, which is a lighted billboard. So if the council or if the CRA is aware of a change to what was discussed with Mr. Henry months ago, which was a small scrolling sign at the bottom of a sign that was intended to mark the park. If it's different than this, then I would just like for that to be aired in front of the public. That's why I took these pictures of the staff that were being directed by Sylvester Warren on Thursday.
No names, keep the names out
Hey,
of it.
man, we talked about this.
And so that's why I'm concerned about the city staff erecting something that's different than what the city is expecting. We're expecting a small strip sign, not something that's a large illuminated LED billboard. So that's why I wrote these concerns to you. I hope you'll take a few minutes to look through the presentation that I've given. It gives you some good examples of what you should put out in front of the city historical district, which is a wooden sign or a metal sign, not a large billboard. And the most important thing to me is anything that's programmable is programmed by a city staff member and not by somebody who's a member of the county or the recreation department or the Justice and Equality Coalition. I'm just concerned that it be done by a city employee. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for right now. Under new business, we have discussion and possible action funding for Sweetwater Project Greater Lake City Community Redevelopment Corporation presentation. Lester McKellar.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Lester McKellar. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Lake City Community Development Corporation. Our purpose is to build wealth, to educate, and to inspire the community by developing business and economic opportunities that benefit low to moderate income individuals and families. We strive to enable a sense of pride and ownership in this community for the things that are done. I'm here to confirm the support for a multifamily affordable housing development by the name of the Sweetwater Apartment Phase 2. Back in April the 3rd of 2018, we requested financial assistance and in-kind support from the project from the CRAC. And at that time was approved for a $200,000 grant toward the development of the Sweetwater multifamily project over a 2-year period. And at that time, if I remember correctly, Mr. Linda Moses was the chairperson of the CRAC, not Eugene Jefferson. Let me divert for a minute. My wife has been saying that she's a part of the CRA. The government statement made, that's incorrect. I'm a part of the CRC. I abstained from the vote when this approval was given. I was on that committee. It was a majority vote. Everybody approved it. Mayor motion, not Ms. Moses, but it was seconded by so right quick, see who's second. Do you have the documentation that presented? Audrey?
Yes, sir, we have it. Hold on just a moment, I can help you out. Mr. McCallum, Mayor Witt made the motion, and Ms. Spivey seconded the motion.
And Ms. Spivey seconded the motion. Okay. I came back because at this point, lots going on with the city, a lot of requests being made. This affordable housing is a process. It's not an event. I came locally seeking support from the CRA to do this affordable housing development back in 2018. Now it's 2021. And we finally got the pieces put together. When you go abroad, looking for support in your community, when you go to the state or the federal government, you need to get local. That was my intention when I came to the CRA back in 2018. And it was granted. I also went to Columbia County Board of County Commission. With support for them to do this affordable housing development. And we all know affordable housing is something that is much needed. This project that I proposed, you should have a picture of the elevation of it. $18.3 million project. We've got support referenced in a letter to Ms. Amy Fields from HTG, South Dakota. It's taken us all this time. It's now 2021 to mass the support. Starting with the 200,000, starting with the land grant to us through Columbia County Board of County. A $56,000 grant from the county to support affordable housing here in Columbia County to be developed in the CRA's area. This project will provide over $18,000 in tax revenue to the CRA. Not to get the utility, it's going to be reduced the use of that fund. My mission runs parallel with the CRA's mission to eliminate slum and blight. That's what we purposed to do. We went partner with the city on this project with the CRA. I'm sure that everybody's not in favor of what we do. What we do is we want to benefit the CRA through the TIF funding, tax increment finance. Everything over the past former tax rate that's generated in that area, we directly sent to or given to the CRA. We began the application process for a PLP loan from the Florida Housing Finance Corporation back in May of 2018, and we was approved for $500,000 development in this project here in the county. We have sale funding, something that very relevant for a small county. Receive a $10 million grant for not a grant, loan for a loan from Florida Housing Finance to sale for the development of this project. Currently, we have amassed $15.48 million for the development of this project. This $200,000 serve as the base for us to go out of the community, at the state level, to request funding to do something here in Columbia County. A small county, this is usually not done. I think we wanted it first. Get approved, Florida House, small county funding for Florida House. I just want to confirm the $200,000 is still on the table for us to use.
I know we did pass it at the advisory committee. I did make a motion, this Spivey made the second. I don't know that it's ever been put into the budget for the CRA and all, but we did all support it at that time, so. We got to figure out what, what we're gonna be able to do with that, whether we can stay with that.
Well, that concludes what I have to say. If there are any questions,
I got any questions?
Mr. Mayor, in the package, there's a form signed by previous city manager Joe Helfenberger on October 12th of 2020 that was a document used to obtain a loan that's committing that $200,000, it looks like. Is that correct?
yes, Mr. Albert signed that document from Florida Housing, confirming that this is a part of a community development effort.
Yeah, my main question is this, so this went to CRAC, but it never came to the council, but it's a commitment. So I'm not sure how this board should look at this, but I mean, this document is a commitment for funds used for financing, which is a federal law that we bound this money to. So I'm not sure. We need to find out about the funds and what the allocation is. I'm concerned about having executives sign documents, binding things as a city manager when it was never authorized. I think the housing's needed, obviously, but in my opinion, we bound it. When he took that document from Mr. Helfenberger to this lender, Florida Housing Finance Corporation, they're making their lending decision based on this document. And to me, that's a big deal.
Let me ask you something then. If we did, go with this commitment, would you want it all at one time over a period of a year or two, since you get the funding from other sources? What?
No, we plan on breaking ground probably the second quarter of 2022.
Okay.
And as already stated on the document here, $100,000 per year. So that would be 2022 for $100,000.
Right.
2023, we will engage the city for another $100,000 toward this project.
So you're saying 100,000 in 22 and 100 in 23?
23.
Okay, that's probably more than that.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. So, Mr. McKellum, was any of that in-kind donation or was it all a cash donation? I mean, we got this kind of late in the day Friday, so I didn't get much time to review it. But when I read through this, I see different numbers and different letters from Mr. Helfenberger. Like there's one that talks about a 30 and a 70. And so I wasn't sure if this commitment, it's a commitment of funds, but was any of it in-kind work provided by the city?
Of the 70 and 30, no in-kind, just cash. And of the $200,000 of the cash, $200,000 cash commitment to the project, plus some in-kind work.
In addition to the 200. That's the way I'd read it. I just wasn't sure that was the case.
Yeah. Like I said, it's very extensive. It's very time consuming. And I know the scope of this, how long it would take. I don't know if I would pursue this at all. Because from year to year, things change. People's mind change. I went through 2 city managers on this project. I got approval from both of them. I got approval from the mayor, actually from the CRA, and from this board. And we are yet to break ground. We just praying that we can push it through.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question as well. So it appeared to me from reviewing the information that the advisory committee approved, but it never moved forward to the CRA. And I think that was where the ball was dropped. What I'm concerned about is what else is out there that we're not aware of, in addition to the issue that's before us at the moment. And so we need to have a complete review of the commitments of the CRA and the CRAC and previous city managers. I don't know how far back we go, but we need to make sure that we don't allocate the same money to different projects. It's not fair to Mr. McCollum's organization or any other organization that we would make a commitment to. And so I have no faith that there's not anything else out there. And so I would ask Ms. Fields to do the research and try to find, ensure that we don't have other commitments for the CRA in addition to what Mr. McCollum has brought to us tonight.
We all understand that we're in favor of that 200,000 going forward because it's going to be needed.
I think it's already been,
Yeah,
if you read the documentation that was signed, it's already been committed.
yeah.
So the question is, how are we going to fund it? And that's a different question. And I don't know who authorized him to sign this form, but read the fine print. We committed it when he signed it.
So I guess we're saying we got a commitment to you. We just got to figure out what we've committed to overall otherwise and what money we got available and where it's allocated to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to old business. Item 3, Ms. Tina Roberts wanted to speak.
Mayor, Councilman, thank you. I would just like to say that I was at the same meeting that Mr. McCollum was when we found out about the $200,000. So I was prepared tonight to ask you to delay this beautification project until we do get a permanent city manager. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, council, you have any comments about item 3?
Mr. Mayor, I agree with Ms. Roberts. We do need to delay, but we also need to make sure that we do the research and that we don't have, I want to make sure we have no other commitments. I think that's important for us to do. That's the only comment.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think we should get a report from finance and say, you know, what is in there? What are the funds? What's committed? And no, I mean, it's hard to say when you've got executive signing documents that the council didn't approve, but we kind of need to get a handle on what are we committed to that we don't know.
And what was our projection for the next couple of years of CRA money and where it's gonna go? So, yes, that's what we would do. Is everybody in agreement just to leave this item 3 for the moment till we move further with funding?
Delay it or delete it?
Uh,
Delay it.
Yeah. Did anybody else want to speak? Okay. All right. Is there anything else on item 3? If not, I actually have an item 4. I meant to mention that during the agenda, but it's actually just a request to speak by Ms. Vanessa George. Okay.
Thank you.
At the last meeting, with the beautification project, it was said that the north side of town needs to do their own committee, form their own committee and come up with their own plan for the north side of town. So while y'all looking for CAR funds and using COVID funds, I wanna make sure that the north side of town is not left out. So I do have a slideshow on this north side of downtown beautification project.
Is it okay if I plug this in? Or does that have to be?
This is what I handed you.
That's an IT call.
We don't have to, cause they all have.
Okay.
They already have it? Okay.
Drive like they please.
Okay.
Okay, so north side of downtown beautification project, they did theirs in phases, we did also. Okay, so the first thing, it was once
Sorry,
the
we didn't know about
private
it
district.
beforehand, so.
The historical district of downtown Lake City begins at State Road 100A, also known as Baskin Norris Drive. This area was a vital part of the community, especially the portion that's between 100A and Martin Luther King, and Railroad Street. And it also pays heavily into the CRA. Is the big portion of the CRA is the yellow portion. There were several gas stations, hair salons, at least 4 grocery stores. We had the Ferguson grocery store and the Callaway grocery store with 2 apartments above it, a pecan house, a beverage and package store, a cattle hiding processing center, a laundromat, a truck stop, which was on the corner of Martin Luther King and Marion Street, a hotel at Wilson and Marion Street, a fish market. The old junkyard used to be a John Deere store. We had North Florida Concrete, just to name a few. Now, this was once a thriving community that has now been abandoned. We go to the next one. The first step to make this area thrive again and look like it's a part of downtown is this historical signage. We need to move that signage closer to the State Road 100, which is the actual beginning of the historical district. Once the signage were removed, we would like to put a plant in its place and surround it by foliage and plants. And the move of the sign, I have confirmation that it can be moved by city employees. We can go to the next one. Add trash cans and benches. We've identified at least 5 spaces that can hold benches. I've got estimates. The high estimate, I also include the highest estimate on there, which was $1,500 for these commercial benches, which would be $7,500. 5 to 8 trash cans. We want to include trash cans all on that town. That's going to alleviate a lot of work off your city workers. I see a lot of times people walking to and from the dollar store. They're hot, they're tired. They're going to sit on the edge of that sidewalk. They're going to take a drink and eat some chips, and they're going to leave that trash right where it is. If we had benches with trash cans, or we had trash cans along the path, that cleans up your area right there because it's going to eliminate a lot of trash. And we, like I said before, we have locations for both the trash cans and benches. And this too can be installed by city employees. Antique lighting. By adding antique lighting from 100 all the way down to Railroad Street, then continue, we already have them on this portion of downtown, to continue from 90 to Bale, then that's gonna make downtown look more uniform. Now, FPL is in the process of conducting an engineered layout for lighting poles in this area. The city is also working on a package deal that would include the vintage looking poles, and it would also include maintenance such as damage if they're hit, and replacing light bulbs, etc. I've spoken to someone about that as well. Now, most importantly for the CRA, the purpose is to get rid of slum and blight, not to fix and make pretty stuff that's already done. We got to get rid of the blight in this community. Now, the start is a revitalization of a mixed-use building. For less than $300, this addition not only adds to improving the community and beautification, but this space will help alleviate an employment and housing problem. Because typically an office space creates a minimum of 4 jobs. 2 jobs, and it's 2 office spaces. So that's 4 jobs. This mixed-use property will create at least 2 jobs and 2 places to live. 4 jobs. We're going to the next slide. Now, a lot of stuff been proposed with CR funds, CARES Act funds, but this is the only project that will pay back into the city and the CRA. And let me tell you how. Improvement of this mixed-use space will create 2 residential apartments, 2 commercial spaces, 4 utility accounts, increase the value for tax revenue for the city and the CRA. And it's also going to encourage and promote residential and commercial growth in this area. We need both commercial and economic growth. We have a need for housing, and we have a need for commercial growth in this area. It's a food desert. The only stores that they have in this area is the dollar store. A lot of people cannot make it out to Walmart and Publix or even Winn-Dixie, especially your elderly. But we're revitalizing this space, and this area will bring businesses to this area. And we've spoken to a lot of owners around in this area, and they would like to bring things to this area, but they need to see the city improve the area because nobody wants to go where there's blight. And keeping with uniformity, we want to replace the grassy areas with pavers to create a more uniform look. Just like in this area of downtown, you don't have those, you have the brick pavers. I've spoken with a brick mason, and I got a verbal quote. He said it'll take about 26,000 bricks at 60 cents each, and also included his installation, which is $20,000. And I have pictures that show you we got bricks all on this area of downtown. This grassy area is the north end of downtown. Sidewalks repaving. That's something simple, but this is important for the city because you're going to get a lawsuit. Somebody fall, break their wrist, chip their tooth, anything because of this hazard. We need those sidewalks repaved. And just to sum things up, $340,000 is a drop in the bucket compared to what this community has paid into the CRA. And I'm gonna sum it up. We need to move the historical district sign, add benches and trash cans, add antique lighting throughout Main Street downtown to make it more uniform, invest in employment and housing opportunities, add big pavers for beautification, and fix and repair the sidewalks. That is the presentation for the beautification of North Downtown. So when you're doing your budget and you're looking for funds, include North Downtown as well, because it is a part of this community.
And thank y'all for doing this. This is, you know, what we needed is ideas like this. And I think there's a lot of this could be done, should be done.
Thank you. Any questions?
All right.
Just a quick question, when will we revisit this after, how long, the next
I
meeting?
think where we're at is we're gonna look at the CRA funds and then we can get back to the beautification project. I think it should be, ultimately, forward, yeah, we get all that lined up.
Okay, would you be including COVID funds in the CAR fund?
That would be a totally separate deal. It could be included, but I'm just saying there's a lot of calling for that.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have for the CRA.
Now, y'all gonna address the scientists? There was a discussion about scientists. Y'all gonna make a decision or make some comments about moving forward with the science instead of Major Park?
The sign, if it's a sign that we've always talked about, I think it's fine. I think we've agreed on that, committed that. It's not a big billboard thing. I think it's fine.
Okay, I just wanna clarify that because the gentleman passed out a handout suggesting that it was gonna be a billboard. And I know that's not.
Now, I've seen, but they presented it here. They were gonna look at some two-sided and all that, and get back to us on it, I think.
And you also committed, Mr. Mayor, that whether there was money in the CRA fund or not for the completion of Santa Major, that the city would find funds to complete Santa Major Park.
Right,
That the sign is not tied into whether or not there's any funds that
Right.
the CRA fund. But that's gonna be complete.
right,
So just for the record, we're not talking about a billboard, we're
Right.
talking about a sign with a message on the bottom that the city of Lake City is gonna control the message.
exactly. Thank you. Okay.
Can I get a clarification? Can I approach? Can I approach?
Yes,
Well, this is the document, third main. I would like to know who's responsible for putting out this document for the public. Who?
which time?
Or this document here? This official document of the city of Lake City?
No, we talked about that. That wasn't, and, Mr. Holden,
Well, I wanna know if this, this is on the city agenda. Who provided this information for this agenda? Probably, who provided this information?
yeah,
It's not on the agenda. It was an item that was sent in for someone who requested to speak today, but it was not actually on the agenda. But Mr. Holbrook sent that document in.
And he's the one responsible for this information?
He is the one responsible.
And what his name is?
Sean
he spoke a
Holbrook.
little while ago. About the sign.
What is his name?
Sean Holbrook. I might be saying his last name
And
incorrectly.
what is his position in the community, just a citizen?
He's right.
I'm not gonna talk to him, but I wanna reiterate again what this says. Do you all have this, you all have a copy of it? Huh?
If it's this,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we have.
Okay. I don't know where Mr. Holtman or Huffman get his information from, but I assure you, I'm man enough to stand in my own boots. And I've done it for 76, 77 years. But when that gentleman says,
okay,
Commissioner Ron Williams and the recreation director of the county had a private meeting with Ms. Field,
He's a bald-faced liar, I'm telling you, his face, he's a bald-faced liar.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Williams.
I don't like that, I don't like to be
I
lied on.
understand, but we're trying to keep it very simple.
Well, do you want somebody to lie on you?
No, sir.
Well, that's how I feel too, I don't like to be lied on.
Okay.
And if you wanna talk about this man to man, be man enough, we can talk about it. But I want this council to know, that's all I'm saying, I want this council to know that this is a bald-faced lie.
Okay.
That I met, did not meet with Ms. Field, nor with Mario, discuss anything about the tree of knowledge place down there. Anything whatsoever. I want you all to know, I don't do that.
All right. That's all I have for the CRA. Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much. This will just be real brief. I just want to assure you, I have no secret meetings with anybody with the city. All my meetings with the city have been public meetings. Well, not public meetings, but they've been meetings on specific projects that are shared between the city. There are no secret, overt meetings that I've been having with anybody. And I know nothing about this sign until I was called about it this week. So any connection between my name, this sign, and some sort of secret meetings is just false. Because I didn't even know you were building a sign.
All right. Now, we got it. Thank you. All right, I think that does it. We will be adjourned for the next 10 minutes, and then we'll start.